Welcome, everybody, and welcome back. It is me. It is Cyber Warrior, and we are right here on Cyber Warrior Studios for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. With me, as always, my partner in crime, my friend, my buddy, the good Eric Bellardo, the host of Eric Bellardo, cyber and content creator. Eric, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good, Eric.
Hey, AR, before we get started, just to let you know your camera's not showing up on the stream. You seem to be missing from the stream. You're kind of not there.
Am I
So
back?
I think your camera died on you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, leave and
Am I
come
back?
back. Yeah, leave and come back. John, man, it's good having you here. We've had AR on before, so before we get started, and everybody knows tonight's episode is all about education and bringing up the next generation, right? How we can teach them, how we can train them, how we can get them involved with everything that we're doing. So, John, why don't you give us a little rundown and background on kind of who you are and why this topic means so much to you?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate y'all having me on. The background for me is pretty simple. I've always been an IT guy from day one. I was, on the interwebs at a very young age on IRC chat, learning from some pros. In high school, I was developed into a bit of an IT asset for the school. Found opportunities in college to, continue to grow that career, and so it was a pretty easy path leaving school and finding my place in the IT world and finding success. And actually, I think a little bit. AR and I have a bit of a background. As I found success in the IT world, I was looking to challenge myself and develop myself a little bit further. So I looked for an opportunity within the Army to, extend my leadership capabilities to my family and community and state, and share my capabilities that my parents invested in me in the IT space. Share that capability with the state and country. And so AR and I spent a little bit of time out on mission, doing some cyber things with cyber stuff, and that really grew me closer to that part of IT. I was previously in all the incremental growth and echelons of IT as it kind of went back in the 90s to 2010, and then found myself coming home from the mobilization for cyber to find an opportunity within my company and information risk management, particularly supporting the vertical of business that I was in. And so, to give a bit of background on that, I work for Shell. In the particularly at the time, it was the downstream information risk management, reporting up to the CIO of downstream to essentially put together our risk visual and our risk approach in a management and control perspective, and taking all of the finer points of what we were doing for delivering security and projects, stuff like that. So I'll stop there. Nobody wants to hear my entire resume. I'm not here for a job interview. But needless to say, I have a lot of passion around the cybersecurity space, and more importantly, around technological solutions and delivering value through them to people, and watching people just enjoy that value. It's almost like cooking a good meal for somebody, right? You make something really great, and that smile that comes on their face. Same thing with delivering a solution, right? They see the flavor and they enjoy it. So that's definitely part of what I enjoy. What brings me into this education space, particularly in around our youth, is that I have two kids, 9 and 10 years old, two girls, and I don't want to miss any opportunities to influence their desire for learning and curiosity and technology. And it got me into a lot of research on what is our education system, where did it come from, what are we doing today, and and then with that research comes a lot of views on the deficiencies with it, and where we have a lot of opportunities for improvement. And so, kind of along with the idea of growing myself and my community through joining the Army, there's now sort of just a desire to improve this space for friends and family, and those close or in those in my area, to grow this into something more. And we have a lot of opportunities to grow it, and I'm sure we'll get to talk about them today.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big thing, and I've told a lot of people. I reach out to my kids' high school a lot. So even before we moved, I talked to the elementary school and now the high schools and things of that nature. So finding ways to reach the youth, and that's you know, a lot of people have talked about it. We talk about diversity and inclusion and all this other stuff, but then they're like, I don't know how to reach these people, right? They're left out. If they don't see me, they don't know that I'm there, that there's people like you in industry. And so one of the things that I stress is talk to the schools, in your area. Don't look, college is going to have a curriculum. You can't change that curriculum. You can try to get in there and talk to them, but if you really want people to get into the field, start at the high school and the middle school. If you can talk to those, then it'll help you reach that audience that we're saying we're missing. And we are missing. We're missing, Latino and Hispanic, we're missing blacks and people of color, and we're missing women and things like that in industry. So if the stats aren't there, and by the time they get to college, they don't even know that people like them exist, then let's start younger. Let's get, Kalila and Alyssa Miller and all these people, try to find one, once a year to go to a different school or something like that to really start reaching the youth. But before we go any further, AR, how you been, man?
I've been all right. I've been wanted to. The last time I was here, I was talking about how I was an instructor for the RSP program and the National Guard, and I just realized how much I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it because I was teaching in the way I would have wanted to be taught. Now, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. There's a YouTube video that's very popular of someone who was explaining what ADHD is, and you look down at the bottom, he basically explains my life in 8 minutes. So yeah, in 8 minutes. That's what somebody put down. He did it in 8 minutes, and that involved someone with a bit of a challenge when it comes to learning. As he went from elementary school where it's very structured, you got to sit in your seats, you got to do everything. When we start getting a little more leeway, and with my ADHD, it was hard for me to focus, and a lot of people don't really believe that. I was really trying because with ADHD we have problems regulating focus. So we got two: one completely scattered brain, and the other one hyper focused. So because people are saying, oh, see, he can hyper focus on something, so he's just not applying to himself in other things. But growing up, what's it called? I had trouble maintaining focus. I actually attended a magnet art school, and in the magnet art school, it's our school's biggest claim to fame is Audra McDonald, the 9-time Tony Award winning performer. She graduated from that high school, and somewhere on YouTube there's a video of me dancing as a pirate on Peter Pan. But I didn't get any interest in tech until later on in life. But had I have been introduced to tech in middle school and in high school instead of the arts, because I realized I have more of a technical brain. Now, I'm not saying that the arts is not important. It's that the way my brain worked, I needed some sort of technical stuff. I should have gotten into the maths and science, but that wasn't offered at the time. So now, when we're talking about educating the youth, the next generation, I don't mean someone who just finished high school and is about to enter the workforce with whatever. I'm talking 2030, 2035. You said your son is about to enter high school. So
Mine is, yeah.
Yes. So to put it in perspective, I think it's the National Science Board predicts that by 2030, the 37% of scientists are going to come out of China. Yeah, by the time your son finishes in college. So if he goes to a 4-year college, by the time he gets out, he will realize that 37% of STEM comes out of China, 26% comes out of the world, comes out of India, 4.5% comes out of Russia, and 4.2 will come out of the United States. So United States is fourth in line because.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And it comes back to what you said, right? So here in the U.S., all our schools are structured the same way. You go through, you do this, 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 and this. And it wasn't until I went to my son's high school this past month that I realized some of these schools are changing things up. Not all of them, and they're few and far between still, but some of these high schools are changing things up. They want you to figure out what you want to do. Do you like tech? Here's a computer science program with cybersecurity. Do you like business? Here's a business program. We're going to give you those as electives. You want to learn foreign languages? You can do that. It's no longer mandatory, but if it interests you, you can take that. And so they're trying to really find how these kids are going to learn, because if you just force them into set electives, then like you said, and I've been saying this for years, nobody learns the same way. Nobody, and if you don't like art, or if you don't like English, you're gonna struggle, especially if you're technical and you're a type of person that can hyper focus on one thing. You will only hyper focus on what you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you're just gonna do everything you can, but it's just not gonna click for you. It's gonna it just doesn't work.
But let's also remember that, again, we have to do better in our fields of showing the next generation what's out there for them. And we have a big PR problem in cybersecurity. You hear it all the time. I want to learn cybersecurity. And I say this all the time in every single stream. It's cybersecurity is a field, not a job. Okay, so there's 50 plus different types of jobs in cybersecurity. You don't go and say, I want to learn healthcare. You say, I want to be a doctor or a nurse or an EMT or a tech. So we need to start hitting these schools early and saying, these are the fields in cybersecurity, in the field of cybersecurity. I think that's going to help people to say, oh, I can do this, or I can do that, or I can do this. It's not all just being, I want to learn how to be a hacker.
Wait, so you don't want to do that? God, man, I've been doing it wrong. But no, so John, what's your take on that real quick, on reaching the schools, and what do you see as an effort we can make to kind of accommodate both points, right? Explain the whole entire field as well as in a way they understand.
So I absolutely get it. I would say, though, the efforts to, kind of segregate the field is a bit ephemeral almost, in that, we have changing priorities in the space, and a lot of the particular skill sets are a bit evolving. Now, I'm not saying that they're changing overnight, but I think if you were to use the term maybe threat intelligence 5 years ago in the private sector, it would have kind of been unheard of. Today it's become a role in some of our larger companies, whereas our hunt team as hunt as a main skill set being segregated within the cyber defense. Is that even going to be necessary in the future with identity as management? Where is hunt going to actually sit in the future? And are we even going to use that term anymore? I don't know. So one, there's a challenge there, right? So it's not just advertising it and saying, hey, cyber defense is more than this. There's a challenge because of how fast it's moving, and that's why we attract a lot of folks that don't have a long attention span, right? It's now, it's fast, it's let's go, and so we attract, myself included, right? I had a buddy here, and this may not be politically correct, and being on a public platform, I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. This idea of weaponizing my autism, getting to the point where I am comfortable with where I know I am awkward, and using that awkwardness in a way that has, benefited me exponentially. So, there's a bit to that. All the school piece, right? There's a lot more there. I absolutely get Eric's concern there. There's something there, right? Policemen, nurses, airplane pilots. I remember being shown the pathway of the future, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? When I was in fourth grade or third grade, I don't know, whatever grade I was in, when the school kind of showed this career day. And in there were a lot of job types. And, are we even doing that anymore with kids? I'm not really sure. And then even if we are, is it modern jobs? Is it actually, workforce in demand jobs? And even if they were, I mean, could we do a good job of articulating that to our kids? is a different question. But yeah, I mean, all good points though. Absolutely. And I guess what I'm saying is, I don't see an answer here. I've done a lot. I've done a lot of research. I can point to a lot of problems within our education system. Pointing to problems isn't going to fix things. We really have to come up with new solutions, and some things we're not going to be able to expect from our government. It's just a matter of fact. We're going to have to take responsibility in our communities to grow our kids in a way that makes sense. And I know that might have a socialist tinge to it, right? Like, oh, the community doesn't take care of the kid. What? But no, that's not the case, man. I need you, smart dad, to be at the school also. It can't just be me. It can't just be you, cyber warrior. We need more than one dad, and you don't have to be a cybersecurity professional to be there. But you're a smart person, and you can be there and help with these things and these curriculums and help get the word out of a bit more opportunities
Yeah,
in
well,
the
And that,
professional
this
world.
last week I was on a panel with a lot of the nonprofits across the United States. And one of the things that was brought up on the panel that was discussed for quite a bit is making the field of cybersecurity a field that to other people feels like they are going to be contributing just to more than just a job, and making it, when you're a kid and you want to be an astronaut or you want to be a firefighter or you want to be, because those jobs mean something, those have that hero complex, if you will. How can we make cybersecurity another field that is enticing to people? And that was a very good conversation that was had during that conversation at Temple. So it's something that I want to ask you guys, both of you, our guests, is if you were king for the day, how would you make the field of cybersecurity enticing to the next generation?
go ahead, AR.
See,
You can go first.
Yeah, AR, please.
Okay.
see,
Yeah.
the
So one of the,
hard-hitting questions on a
There
Friday.
it is.
King for a day.
one of the hold on one second. Let me set something up first. Okay. One of the classes that I had to do during RSP was land nav. Now this was a 2-day thing, and I was already instructed by ABIC, Army Basic Instruction course, on how to put everything together. And I created my own slides. I followed the curriculum. I was given a bunch of bullet points, and due to me, before I even joined the Army, I was a graphic artist. I developed my slides to a way that was very simple. Like there was no flair, there was nothing, nothing so much hitting your eyes as it was, or as say something with stylized bullet points where they got the unit crest on the sides and everything. This was just straight pictures and everything, and it was throughout the entire day. I covered everything, even things that weren't included in the curriculum. This was land nav. What a projection is, what type of projection does a military map have. I put it all together in one day, and the following day I took everything and put it into a Jeopardy slide. Now I've asked that question: how would you improve, say something on STEM? How would you teach the next generation? I get a lot of gamification. That's what I hear a lot of, gamification. And that's what I did. I did a Jeopardy challenge. This wasn't just straight board questions like, what are the colors of the map? What does blue mean? This was hands-on stuff like
Water.
It was 2 teams. Yeah, it was 2 teams. They had the protractors, compasses, maps, and markers, and they would call out Jeopardies. I want this question for this for 100. Give them the question: what's the highest point on this map? What's the distance between this area or the graveyard in this area, or that sort of thing. Now there was someone who was very first day. He was also an instructor. He was also cadre rather. He saw that and he was all thinking lame, lame. By the end, the whole structure of the class, it started off with 2 people. As they went they were going through some other thing on the outside. As they started funneling in, I kept separating, your team one, your team two, your team one, and team two. By the end, I had two huge teams. Everyone was hooting and hollering, and it was very competitive. And I had everybody there all like, oh my God, let's go. Point is, I gamified something. They really got into it. I had a whole day of lecture where I covered everything and I put everything into a cohesive form, which they had hands-on practice. It wasn't me, what they call, it wasn't me giving their knowledge in front, lecturing, as they call stage on a stage. It was me on the side guiding them, as what they call a guide on the side. So I went from stage on the stage to a guide on the side. So if it was up to me, your question is, how would I change things? Number one, it would be more gamified, to where they get hands off and compete each other and get some sort of satisfaction in completing a task. And I wouldn't be the one up front telling them, hey, with a PowerPoint, this is that. This would be me on the side saying, hey, maybe you want to try this. Maybe, because you got an 8-digit grid coordinate, you want to try the Pythagorean theorem. That's a diagonal line. Sure, why not? So that's my guide. Number one, gamification. Number two, going from the stage on the stage to the guide on the side.
All right. What about you, John?
So I had all of AR's chance to, formulate my answer. And I guess, what I came away with in that time in my head was that, the education system as a whole there's a lot going on in that space, right? And we kind of started our conversation focused on our youth, right? But there's something bigger than just the youth. But I think in order to answer that question, I have to scope it out, and let's just talk about youth and what would we do better there. And I would probably limit it to a bit of AR's second point, which is, a bit of the guide on the side of putting curiosity first for children, and then being able for the guide on the side to enable that curiosity. Curiosity is a proven learner way further than somebody dictating facts, right? You're going to learn a lot more whenever you are driven for the answer. And so it's I'm not going to say it's common sense. I get you have a limited scope of what our public education system can do, and that sets a standard, and then that standard gets met through commercial activities. There's a lot going on. So I apologize for bringing that a little bit further than we were meaning to, Eric, but I hate to even opine on it, because it's a much bigger space and there's a lot to deal with. But simply put, king for a day, let's focus on curiosity when it comes to our younger audience.
That's very good. That's very good.
Yep. I definitely agree, and I think it's something that we can do more of, right? And if it was up to me, honestly, I'd probably throw the standardization of grades and standardized tests and all that out the window, and that's just me, and that's why I don't work in education. But it's
No,
who
you're
I am,
right,
because it takes some people longer to learn things and catch on than others. B, there's a whole different way of learning for other people, whether it's hands-on, hands-off, book, or whatever. And C, you have some people just don't enjoy reading. They can read, they just don't enjoy it. So you give them an extremely boring book, and they're like, hey, I need this read in a month, and you're going to do a book report. Well, they might not finish it because it takes them 3 hours to read one chapter of a 10-chapter book, because they can't get into it. So you have to reread the same page over and over. I know, I've been there. There's books I have that I could read in a day, but then other ones that take me probably 3 months, maybe longer, because I have to constantly reread. Whereas math was very easy for me. Numbers came easy. You gave me numbers all day in math class, I'd go through, no problem. And my son's the same way. That's why computers, you put a computer in front of me and tell me, hey, this is how you fix it, I'm never going to forget it. Cool. I remember telling people error codes at one of my college courses because their computer was messed up. And I was like, oh, if it's 8 echo, it's probably your RAM. How do you know that? Someone told me it once and I never forgot it. It's just, it clicked. So, Yeah, exactly. We have people who excel in class with videos or actually doing it. Me personally, I can't do video training. I despise it. If you tell me I've got to do training by watching some dude that I can't ask questions to except for through a form, so he may answer that day, it may take him a while, and I got to watch this video, my mind is going to go, I got better things to do. And that my son did horrible in school during, when all the schools were shut down, because his mind's the same way. You put him in front of a computer and tell him, hey, watch this video, and you'll learn the material, and he's going to go, I don't care about this. And so even if he's looking at the screen, his mind's not there. He's thinking about something else.
I think it's a good point on particularly the different styles that one of the commenters brought up. It affects different people. And I want to back it up one second further and discuss this paradigm shift in education. Right. There was a point in time when the materials and things were limited, right? It was, textbooks weren't widely available. And, school, was able to facilitate those sorts of knowledge sources. That's not the case today, right? We have an entirely different world we're living in, but we're still using the same education model from a time when people couldn't even, it was difficult to get a book inside their room. So, now that we have this plethora of learning platforms, like you mentioned, right? Maybe YouTube's your thing. I know folks that can watch 400 hours of YouTube video on a silly topic, like how to import some 3D asset into a game engine or something, and so that they figure something out. And I couldn't do it. I want to see a wiki or a fact where I can just read it off real quick, and I'm not waiting to hear some guy talk and choke over his words like I'm doing here, right? I just want to see, I want to see the information and I want to absorb it. But I absolutely understand those that want to see it on a video and see somebody doing it, maybe, or another method of just seeing it on a piece of paper. So whatever it is, we're in a new world and we're still using old standards. And to maybe circle back, and if I get a second try at what I could do better, is to to follow Cyber Warriors example here, which is we need to ditch the old stuff. We've created standards that have put us below par, and more importantly, we've diminished our main asset, which is all of this new technology, which is not really incorporated into the work system for teachers and education system, and how many people depend on that industry. So anyway, I'll stop there because I can go on forever, but you get it.
It is, well, let's be fair. It is included if you include, hey, your homework is now in, Google Classroom, and
Yeah,
here's
exactly. There is some
if that's the
transition.
extent of what you're doing, though, again, this goes back to everybody learns differently. So you're expecting students who, as a society and as the United States, we've dictated that sometime between the age of 18 and 20 something, you're an adult. We haven't figured out which number it is yet. But, but you're expecting now parents who both have to work full time, or you at least have one parent working full time. If the other one isn't, it's probably because you got a little one at home that they have to take care of. And so you're expecting them to have to then go into the classes and check all the classroom work and do all this instead of when the kids get home from school, pull it out. And this is true. Printed material does not age well in cybersecurity unless it focuses on the fundamentals. Fact. I mean, what else can I say other than fact?
Well, we all know that our technology changes every 3 to 5 years. Okay, so we have Moore's law that says 18 months, but because companies don't invest, it can be around for a couple of years. But if we look at it an average of 3 to 5 years and say this is the technology that's here, it's very hard to put it into call it a college book or a high school book, because those books don't get changed for 10 to 15 years. So we end up teaching people with a book that was 10 years ago, and we're teaching novel netware, and that's not going to work for us. But I think that it's very important that we give that curiosity. The thing that John was saying is what are the fields in cybersecurity, and what are you good at in the fields of cybersecurity? Because as we talked, there's people that are more non-technical. There's people that are very technical, and we have to be able to tell people that, listen, you don't have to be awfully technical to be in GRC. You don't have to be awfully technical, or if you're a good communicator, you can be in security awareness or security training. If you are a, mathematical whiz, you can be in cryptology, not cryptocurrency. Um, so,
I mean,
there's
they're
there's
both the same, right?
yeah. So, but long story short is that there is a path for almost everybody that wants to be now I said crypto, in cybersecurity, in the field of cybersecurity, but people don't hear that all the time.
What
So
about the root cause of that? Maybe let's ask that around
PR.
the table. Is it lack of PR? And maybe I asked the question because I wanted to answer it myself. I apologize.
Yeah.
Go
But
ahead, ask it. What's the question? We'll put it to the people in the chat
Here,
too.
no,
What's the question?
there's a question
Get
though.
me
Why
started.
do we have a PR problem? And part of it is that the world has changed in a way where IT was a supporting back office function. It's no longer the case. It is the front office and it is the base of operations for the majority of large companies. And now that we have already done our best, or excuse me, we didn't. The business industry has done its best to put IT in a closet and then cybersecurity is a subset of that in a closet. It's a lot harder to pull out of the closet now that the companies recognize that actually we're the benefit or the competitive edge that they've been looking for that they put in the closet a long time ago.
AR, what's your take on it, man? You're muted. I can't hear you. I can. There
You
you
hear
go.
me now? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You know how there's people that say you got your book smarts and you got your street smarts. There's an author that came up that there's 9 different types of smarts, and I can't remember all of them right off the top of my head. But there was the what's it called? You would say that there's someone who is more intelligent in one way as another one. Say like Fred Astaire, Bruce Lee, and Michael Jordan are all geniuses in their own right, but they're different than, say, Shakespeare or the guy who wrote the Canterbury Tales. So one has a more literature based or a word interpersonal communication type of genius. Another one has more of a kinetic type of genius. Picasso, Monet, and Van Gogh are different than Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, and Isaac Newton. They all have a mathematical type of genius, and one has more of a spatial type of genius. Let's see, you got your your interpersonal and your extrapersonal, like Sigmund Freud or and June are more interpersonal, and like politicians and like say the Pope are more extrapersonal because they're or in businessmen like Carnegie, Rockefeller, um, those sort of things. The point is they're geniuses in their own right. Sometimes you get a combination of the two, like say Freddie Mercury and Eminem. They're both linguistic and musical types. Mechanical engineers are both spatial and mathematical. So when you when you separate more on just say trying to get everyone into one, evenly amongst all of them, you can try to focus whatever their natural talents are in that direction. If you're more of a an artist or a designer, maybe you might want to focus more on like the spatial elements of that sort of thing, which comes in very important even in the forms of STEM. You need a good artist or a good designer to think outside of the box, think of creative ways to do, say, robotics or cybernetics, or it's something new.
Yeah. And
So
to
Basically, so
tie what you said, and to tie what John was saying and Derek were saying, I love when people use the analogy of if you tell a fish to climb a tree, he is going to fail at that. But if you tell a monkey to swim like a fish, the monkey's going to fail. So and the fish. So people learn and people have different skills, and we can't measure everybody by their ability to climb that tree because you might be a fish. So that's where those metrics of who's successful and who's not don't apply evenly to everybody.
And I completely agree. And that's again, it goes back to everybody learns differently. We all have our different specialties. And what I would love to see more of, so in the younger schools and elementary schools, they still teach art, right? Art to kind of, well, some schools for some reason took it out, but to try to get that creativity gene and that creation out of them. But then they're taking it out. It's like, oh, you got to be all fact based, right? You got to do English and math and da 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 all the way up. Look, I understand the need to be able to write, read, and spell and do math. That makes sense. And even knowing your history, but we should still be pushing this creativity and this creative mind. So, I can only draw a stick figure. So if you're not engaging that creative side, regardless of whether it's, why can we not take cybersecurity or programming, and instead of making it gamified and saying, hey, I'm gonna teach you to code by telling you to go forward 2 spaces and right 2 spaces. Look, I've looked at the coding for elementary schools, and I'm sorry, I think it's ridiculous. Why not really teach kids how to code? Why not really teach kids how to break into things? Because here's the thing, and here's what a lot of people don't realize. In second grade, my son knew how to use an Android phone, unlock it, and get to my mother-in-law's pictures better than she did. She was like, I don't know how to use this thing. And he was like, here, give it to me. There you go.
But let's differentiate, and this is something that's very important. We got to differentiate the concept of using technology versus knowing technology.
But again,
Okay?
that comes back to
Everybody
the
knows how to use a tablet, a phone, this, that, and the other. Okay, but they don't really know what it's doing.
And so we have one here.
John.
So yeah, real quickly, there's the Atlas Shrugged kind of approach to what you just said, right? This idea that we end up with a society of folks that know how to use it, but really don't understand the working mechanics behind it, and then we hit a cliff, right, or the bottom falls out at one instant point. I like that point. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Derek, go ahead.
I was going to say, so we got the massive, continuous, rapid changes in technology, and the needs of the general public, enterprise, and the workforce make PR difficult at this time. And I think we hit on that a little bit, but Jen's not wrong here, because everything's changing, but the general public, PR, like media and workforce, hasn't kept up with the change. So as much as when the hackers, and I'm an advocate for hack, not crime, as much as the term hacker came around and it became a negative connotation, even though that term stemmed from an MIT Model Railroad Club that just found a different way to do things. And so you're looking at these changes in technology and things like that, but the media is not keeping up. The public isn't keeping up. How our enterprises don't even keep up with the speed at which things change. So I mean, it's. Go ahead.
Well, even back in the days, like going far back, people think anything new, anything unique and different is dangerous. Hell, Socrates believed that writing and reading was the tool of the devil. It made the young, lazy and weak. So he thought memorization of everything, was better off. Now, can you imagine? AI? So,
I gotta add single pane of glass.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right. You got to have the visualization on top of it. That's right. Single pane of glass on top of it.
I like a single pane of glass, but at the same time, it's impossible, because if you truly had one, you wouldn't get any work done. It's complete data overload, and you can't even do anything.
Sorry, we're gonna go back to AR, but I gotta say this one. I told a vendor this week that told me single pane of glass. I said, great. I've got 7 technologies over here that are single pane of glass, so I have 7 single panes of glass. Explain that to me.
It's a 7-pane window, is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, AR.
So a while back, teachers were complaining that students were too reliant on paper. Before you would write on little chalkboards and hold it up. Now, can you imagine not using paper nowadays? So whenever there's something new, everyone's always going to complain about new technologies that, it's just making the weak old. as I was mentioning before, China right now is already surpassing the United States in IA. They consider our generation the internet generation. The younger generations consider the IA generations. They're
I
already
mean, AI.
surpassing in AI. Excuse me, AI. Um, because their main focus is not on old China the way they used to do it. Their focus is on young China, educating the youth. So they're more focused on design and programming and make everybody data smart.
So
So
so I
that's
got one.
where
Yeah. So I got one for you too. Peter Smith puts up ethics and tech education. So there's a huge narrative about ethical AI, right? Is artificial intelligence true artificial intelligence and the ethics behind it? But what other areas of ethics should we be teaching the next generation? We already know about ethics in computers in cybersecurity, right? And hacking and really being a pen tester and a red teamer. But are there other areas in technology where we should really get into the ethical implications of what we do?
So I'll hit it real quickly, and maybe to be a bit of a devil's advocate is that, regardless of the area, isn't it all, ethics are ethics, right? We don't harm others, right? It's we pursue our own liberties. Uh, you know, I don't find the AI conundrum all that crazy, right? It's kind of like it's same with building weapons, right? It's, a weapon is a weapon. AI can be weaponized. So I'll stop there. Next, I'm not sure what the hand signal means. Is that a?
No,
Oh,
his green screen blocks out his
no.
mic's muted,
yeah,
but so you can't hear
yeah,
him.
it's
So his
busy.
green screen blocks out the
I
grape.
I have a grape, and it's a green screen. So
He's holding a grape.
Fun.
So
Yeah.
he does that.
I,
Holds up like sodas and stuff.
gotcha. Anyway, yeah. So, but to Peter's point, there are some questions there. I think maybe the ethical ones that I hear, and I don't like them, but I'll just throw them out there for you guys to consider. What about the jobs? What about the jobs that we're going to lose through automation? Is that what nobody can work, and so they can't make money, so the economy can't work. And it just, in my opinion, actually, I'm not going to give an
Eh,
opinion. I'd like to hear your stories. Yeah, what do you
But
think?
what
okay,
about the jobs you get from it?
so let me give you everybody
That's
says,
an easy one.
hey,
Yeah.
the automation is going to kill the job. Well, guess what? That automation is going to need 10 people to take care of that AI.
To an
Sorry,
ex- to an
that.
extent, but it's,
But
there is fewer jobs, right?
well,
We wouldn't use.
there's fewer repetitive jobs. Okay?
Yeah.
There's
Fair.
fewer repetitive jobs, but
Fair.
there's a new industry that gets built, which is the support, the programming, the technology. So what we need to be doing is, which we're not doing, is keeping pace with this technology is going away. We need to get these people trained on the new technology so that these people can then become the people that are going to support that, and so on and so forth. Because that's going to happen. Look, I always talk about this. When I started in IT back in the '80s, I've been doing security for 32 years now. The technology that I was using was VAX VMSs on punch cards. If I didn't learn the new technology that came after, I would have been out of the job 27 years ago. So we have to keep up with that new technology. So as AI or robotics process automation or any of these new technologies that are coming that people say it's going to take my job, well, now we have to reskill those people to do something else
I
in
get
that
it.
technology field.
I get that, and I, that is, you 100% summed up the more logical argument there. However, is there an ethical position that the time that the repurposing and the reskilling to get to a new job has left somebody unemployed, what is the ethical ramification of that? Are we happy that the market's going to hit, right? The market's going to start to inflate the price of a developer for apps. Before that, it was network engineers. Before that, it was, DB admins. Next after app developers, we're getting into this cyber world where, the market drives a competitive wage, and it, attracts talent and skill. So we get it. That's going to happen. And as we
That's going
have
to
more
happen.
people join the ranks of being able to program RPA or any sort of automation or piping or sort of data pipe stuff. Yeah, that skill set's valuable right now, but maybe it goes away in the future. But I think the ethical question, and I want to be just true to Peter's question because it's a good one, and I hear it argued, and I'm very dismissive, and I want to challenge myself today. Am I being a little overly dismissive of the ethics of how fast technology moves? And I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Is it fair to just hide behind the fact that, well, we'll reskill and not pay attention to maybe those that are in a position where they
Well,
can't reskill?
the question is, what is the responsibility? Is the responsibility
Yeah,
of the person, of me, to be able to reskill as I see things and not become comfortable in whatever the
absolutely.
one thing is that I'm doing? If I was doing, like I said, if I was doing Novell NetWare, you know,
Yep.
and I didn't skill up, then whose fault is it? Is it the company that's employing me, or is it my responsibility? And that's where a bigger, I guess,
I
ethical
don't think it's a
conundrum.
bigger question, right? It's always our personal responsibility,
Yeah.
but that gets a whole lot further when we talk about today's politics and policies.
Yeah, and when you're looking at it from a business standpoint, I think at that point it's kind of both, right? It's your responsibility to approach your company and say, "Hey, I know we're getting this in. I need training. Either you got to allow me the time off to go do it, or you have to provide it for me. One of the
Yeah.
two. And it's on you to make that first move because a company is going to go out there, and if they know it's a new technology, you may have seniority, but if they can hire someone that knows that technology for less money, look, that's what they're going to do. They
Yep.
know it. Now, is that ethical because you've been there so long? Ah, but in this field, we have to adapt. And CapTech says it right. You adapt to change, otherwise you become obsolete. And we've talked about this on numerous occasions. In cybersecurity and in IT, the fundamentals don't change, but the technology does. And if you are not willing to keep up with the technology, you are obsolete or you're going to become obsolete because of how quickly things change. We've got new programming languages with Go and Rust now that are developing new malware and new ways to exploit systems that if your EDR didn't keep up, or if you as a reverse engineer didn't keep up, guess what? Now you're out of a job. I got to find someone else that can do it.
Yep. Agreed.
That's one of the 5 hurdles that when I was thinking about how about educating the youth in this relatively new field that no one's really trained in about. First one is generating interest. Second one is curriculum development, staff support. I mean, you can't really teach what you don't know. So half of the teaching is there should be as much effort in teaching the teachers as there is teaching the students. Laboratory enhancements when there's technology that's changing, and community support. I mean, if there's people that telling you that this newfangled stuff is not the way to go, because that's not the way we do it on back in the day, you're gonna stifle you're gonna stunt the growth of your youth. So Gen Cyber,
Yeah.
the gencyber.org, that is an NSA sponsored summer camp that teaches cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Not only do they have a summer camp for students, they have a summer camp for
the teachers.
Yeah. And so here's the question though. Because I within the military, we all know how hard it is to get a curriculum changed in our schools. It's like 3 to 5 years. And so by the time you propose a curriculum, it's already outdated by the time it gets approved.
That's right.
So colleges, I believe, are the same way. It might be 2 to 4 years, but it's still roughly the same way, right? By the time it gets approved and put into the school, it's already outdated. So if high school and elementary and middle, let's just say they're the same way. I don't know how they develop their curriculums, but let's say they're the same way. How in an industry that changes so often can we make sure that the curriculum doesn't fall behind?
Because
So technology is going to change. How do we keep up with that technology?
So it's not about the curriculum in the school. what you've got to introduce, and I think this is one of the things that Raíces Cyber is working on right now, is introduce the concepts via like what you're doing in school fairs and school opportunities and school clubs. Okay, the real, call it curriculum or learning opportunities for this are not going to be inside the school. They're going to be a bolt-on club opportunity, training, something that we do kind of like an after hours or a club.
I like that. John, what's your take on that as far as maybe like a trying to get schools to introduce some type of computer science, cybersecurity, networking, some type of club or program after hours, but it's still school sponsored?
Yeah, so I was fortunate. I mean, I went to a pretty poor public school in New Orleans, but we did have a computer science course. We learned basic, and it was decent. But so I think we have some place there. But I think one of the things that maybe, and not to be devil's advocate or different here, but one thing that we have an opportunity in school for, we're giving them laptops because they need to do their homework at home or whatever. We have an opportunity right there to explain to them user access management. We have the opportunity to explain to them encryption, access profiles for storage containers, things like that. There's a lot of opportunity built into the curriculum that the school hasn't even taken a look at because well, they don't have that. So you ask, where does this curriculum come from for high school or junior high? Right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Actually, let's not. But
I mean, we can. Let's do it.
no,
Game
yeah,
on. Let's do it.
right. Yeah, if I want to just put it real simply, right? It was book publishers, right? It was a book publishers that were adhering to some sort of influence to where the curriculum was supposed to be, and then they put out the publication, and then you have a large consumer group that is the government buying that for a lot of different school districts, and so it becomes a bit of the standard. And so anyway, that's a big history of where our curriculums come from. Now it's different, right? We have a lot more players involved and a lot more stuff going on. But yeah, I don't want. You may notice I have a chip on my shoulder around schooling in general. AR knows that a little bit about me, but there is I didn't have homeschooling, but I'm a big proponent of it, and I'm a big proponent. Real quickly to plug something, I'm not here to plug any products, but if I could plug an author, his name is John Taylor Gatto, and I would encourage anybody to read a little bit from him. He's got a few good books. Two of them to name: Weapons of Mass Instruction. It's a bit of a propaganda piece, but it's just really juicy, and you can sink your teeth into it. And then so that's Weapons of Mass Instruction, and then Dumbing Us Down: A History of Compulsory Education is a bit more of the historical context, behind the latter book, which is a newer and more just to influence opinion, whereas the first one was a bit more historical, and where did public education come from, and how did it become such a prominent part of our society. Really good stuff. So John Taylor Gatto, please check him out if you haven't. So with that though, that's kind of where I'm at, is that we have a whole issue at the root cause level that was started from an industry. Where do we go from here? I think, to Derek, what you said earlier, we got to rip the band-aids off, and we just got to just ditch out a lot of the standardization stuff.
Well, you figure the standardized, and again, and this is me with kids in school, coming up in the school system, seeing how different kids suffered in different ways because of it. The standardized testing, for starters, has to go. And I say that based on the fact that schools are getting funding based on standardized testing.
Yes.
So if you rip that out and you just fund the schools all the same, not based on neighborhood, not based on they can recruit and this school can't, but based on the fact that, guess what? You have this many students, so we're going to give you the same amount that we would give this school, except they have more students, so we got to provide them more funding. Not because they're in a different neighborhood, but they have more students, so they get this amount. You get the same percentage. The percentages should be the same regardless. So 25, 25. You got 4 schools in a school district, you all get 25% of the funding. Because guess what? That's what you get. Now, I think that the biggest drawback we have is we're teaching to a test. I have this problem with cybersecurity boot camps. I have this problem with schools. You are teaching to a test. You are not teaching to learn. One of the beauties that the school my kids go to now, my high schooler is going to be going to, they are changing that. Homework is no longer included as part of your grade. Well, for some classes, they're changing it. It's part of a secondary grade that doesn't go towards GPA. And the reason for that is it is meant for you to learn. If you have to get that additional instruction, we don't want that to hurt your GPA. So, okay, you're going to go home and do it, and it's just a whole different grade. So
I
it's a
would have been a
different way
straight
of,
A student. My grades always said if he only did his homework, he'd be a grade A student.
right?
If everyone does their homework, they'd be great straight A students.
But then when you look at the standardized tests I in high school, when I went to school, if you failed the PSSAs, the Pennsylvania State Assessment, I don't know what the whole thing is, Pennsylvania Standardized State
You failed
Assessment,
right now. Not you can't even remember
right?
that.
If you failed that, your senior year, you took a course specifically to pass that test, specifically to bring that test up. What's that? What does that test have to do with anything? Like, you either can read or you can't. Why do we make it, oh, you can read and comprehend better than this guy? Like, that makes no sense. Who cares? Maybe you don't like reading.
Ladies
Maybe
and
you don't like
gentlemen,
numbers.
this is the only person that's ever failed the ASVAB.
Yeah,
Cool.
you failed the ASVAB. There are standards. That you know how colleges need to maintain their accreditations. There are standards for cybersecurity. I believe it came out in 2017. The CSEC 2017 or standardized curriculum for four-year colleges, and the Cyber Year 2 2020 is the standard curriculum for a two-year college. It's backed by the Association of Computer Machinery and the IEEE Community Society and like three others. So, but if you're moving down to say college levels, or not college level, high school levels and middle school levels, that's where you got to get more creative. To just, you're trying to generate interest. You're not trying to teach. You're trying to generate interest when it comes to the young age, the young. Rather, one of the things one of the studies I've noticed is that people would use escape rooms in Gen Cyber and even in Women in Cyber. They hosted these people that held escape rooms that would like, post a password on a post-it, and when someone finds it, they're all like, "All right, what did we learn about leaving passwords on a post-it? Okay, look in the briefcase. Hi, there's a cipher wheel and a code. Okay, let's figure out this cipher wheel. Okay, then what'd you learn about cryptography? And that one opens a laptop, and what's the password for laptop? Or try password. Okay, so what did we learn about
can I go to that escape room? I'd be great at it. Like, I'm really, where's that at?
So, shoot, I'll give you the name of the person. Yeah, they started off on Gen Cyber, and it was really everybody enjoyed it, and then they got invited to different venues, and everybody. You know what? I'll send you the study. It shows all the puzzles that they used at the different iterations of the escape room. But the point is, they used cyber, techniques to cyber concepts to put in an escape room, and gave the students a young satisfaction. In California, they had a cyber program for at-risk youth. So after they finish, or if they drop out, whatever, they would go to this program. They had this option to go to this program. The ones that the first iteration was like 22 out of the 22, 19 went on to get different types of certifications, and these were considered at risk youth, and the ones that don't have that sort of opportunity on them. So that's the what's called the generating interests, and not necessarily a curriculum. But when you go farther back to 20, 30, 20, 25 kids, you gotta get them, you gotta wet their gullet. You gotta give them a taste of it, and then
Dancing Grandma approves of escape rooms.
Escape rooms. So I'll give you the link to the study. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, and definitely. And so I will say this, and I'd love for you guys to chime in on it. what is stopping us from going to, and I know what stops some people, but the school board is who determines a lot of what goes on in these schools, right? In the school districts and things like that. So as much as I say, talk to the schools, and that's how I started. I emailed counselors and career counselors and teachers, and that's how I got into the schools without any school board approval. Just emailed them and say, hey, I want to come talk to you.
That's right.
So that's a start. But if we want to improve the teaching and curriculum and how this is thought of in schools and how it can be improved, what is stopping people from going to the school board meetings and going to school board and applying and running for school boards to say, hey, we need to make this change?
That's right. Applying and running for school boards is Derek, you're spot on, right? You showing up at those meetings, we've done it. Let's be honest, the results aren't exactly promising. But to your point, if there's an opportunity to participate and to take a leadership stand, to be a stakeholder, right? If you really want to be a stakeholder in your community and your child's education, there's an effort, right? It's not free. You don't just get to walk into it. So yeah, you're 100% on point.
AR?
So, I don't have any kids of my own, nor do I plan to have any kids of my own. So that's not exactly worrying about my kids' education is not exactly on the front line for me. But I do have 21 nieces and nephews, like 24 total from both, from my brother's side and from my wife's side. And like 3 of the aunties are educators. One of them is a principal of a school. I might have a way in on that sort of thing, but this still the whatever the town is focusing at the moment is what they're going to be focusing on at the moment. Right now, my town is big on a entrepreneurial charter school. So a charter school that teaches kids to be entrepreneurs. So they're not exactly. I mean, they're trying to.
That's pretty good. That's a hell of a
It's
start.
still a good start, though. I took entrepreneurship when I was in high school. I didn't get it till high school, but I took it in high school.
And he still sucks at it.
Look, that's because I hate charging people for stuff. But it was one of those things. I took accounting and all this other stuff. Like I got my first college credits my senior year of high school, and so it's one of those things. Bringing in these different programs to allow students to find their passion, find what they really want to do. So one of the things us as parents fail on, and we do, not all of us, but a lot of us, is finding out what truly intrigues your kids. We get stuck in the mindset of, hey, go to school. Hey, go learn. Hey, go do this. Just do what the school says, right? Me being a little bit different, because I like to be different, tell my kids every day and ask my kids every day, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or what do you want to do right now? What piques your interest? You want to do coding? You want to do art? You want to do graphic design? You want to be a hacker? You want to do this, that, the third? You want to play instruments? Tell me what I can do to help you. But because of the grind that we are all on a daily basis between sports and work and side jobs and just trying to make ends meet and paying bills and trying to find the time to even spend with family, we fall behind. So I challenge every parent out there this weekend, if you have children, ask them what they want to be. Ask them what they want to do. Because if you cannot get the school to help them, it is on us as parents. Us as parents need to encourage creativity, need to encourage that critical thinking and that ability to learn. If you don't do that as a parent and you are expecting everybody else to raise your kids for you, you cannot be mad if they do something you don't like, because you took the power out of your own hands.
Yep.
It takes a community, but you're part of that community. You are part of what is going to encourage future generations. So as a parent, if you are one, encourage the future generation. Talk to the schools, talk to the school board, and speak to your kids. Find out what's going to make them happy. If it's cybersecurity, great. Give us a new one. Bring more people. If it's IT, if it's art, if it's music, if it's whatever, encourage them to grow. Saying that, give me your last words, guys, before I sign off for tonight.
John, yours first.
Appreciate the time here. It was a really good conversation. I really like the passion around the subject. Sometimes I feel on an island inside my house. It's great talking to some other dads, hearing similar sentiments, and I just want to kind of second Derek's point there that you just don't, and it doesn't have to be your kids. You just don't know the influence that you as an adult can have over kids when you take the gloves off when you talk to them. Really, talk technical to kids. They're going to soak it up, and they're going to get interested, and they're going to get curious, and they're going to get further. And maybe if I can plug one more thing, because I see somebody just mentioned robotics and kids next to each other. Talk about the VEX program. It's an easy, yeah, it's a commercial group. I have nothing invested in them, but they have an easy program. When I was on mission, they reached out to us for some judges. I went and judged one of their competitions, had a great time, saw a really great program for kids to work in, looked it up. Prices are reasonable.
Two programs is the VEX and First Robotics. Both of those programs are wonderful.
Yep. Yeah, it was great. Thanks. And again, appreciate time, Derek and Eric. I appreciate it.
AR, last words, brother.
So, to paraphrase, I believe it's Socrates. The future of any society depends on educating the young. So, even though me personally, I don't have any kids, I think it is very important to teach children. It doesn't have to necessarily be mine, but the next generation as a whole. So if you're really worried about the future, you gotta focus on educating the young and find new and innovative ways to do it. So don't stick to what worked in the past, because 20 years ago you wouldn't imagine the world that is today, and you can't imagine how the world will be in another 20 years. So that actually education and educating the young are two big passions of mine. I've written down a whole bunch of numbers and facts and stats that I didn't get to share. I'm a data analyst guy, but everybody is so passionate about this subject that I didn't want to bog it down with a whole bunch of numbers.
Dude, you always have numbers, AR, and I love you for it. Look, feel free to share your numbers online. I'll get them out there for you. I'll help push the message out, because the numbers are important. Eric, what do you got, man?
All right. Well, this was a wonderful conversation. Great stuff. Thank you very much, both of you, for sharing your thoughts, your knowledge with all our audience. I wanted to give you guys two pieces of information here. So I'm going to add here. This Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time on March 6th, it's Bring Hacker to Work Day from Black Girls Hack, which is an organization that supports our BIPOC community to bring more girls into the field of cybersecurity. I will be speaking with the group, so meetup.com, Black Girls Hack, if you want some more information. And as always, I want to plug in Wicked 6 Games. March 23rd through March 24th. It's a virtual event where there's going to be over 1,000 women across the world playing games. Wicked 6 Cyber Games. Go look it up. It's wicked6.com. All right, with that.
All right.
Sir, it's all yours. Man. This way.
Hey, Eric, I love everything you're doing with Raices, and the fact that you're getting involved with all these different groups. It's amazing. I will say one more time, I put it in chat, and I'm going to say it right here. Any gear you want like this, Toning Advisory. I had an RTBT shirt on yesterday. I have another one. It's Big Hack Energy. The great Carolina had it on my show a few weeks ago. You can get them all at securitystar.com right over here. You can't see my arm anymore, but I'm kind of going through Eric's screen. Go there. Cyber Warrior 20 will get you 20% off. Look, we're doing big things, and we're always growing. We're always trying to improve the community. If you have someone that you want to get on the show, please let me know. If you want to be on New Battlefields with Eric Bellardo and myself on Eric Bellardo Cyber, let me know. Let him know. We'll get these things lined up. The message, the news, the information, everything needs to get out there. We have to do better. We have to be able to bring knowledge and education to everybody, because you all belong here. So, without further ado, like, comment, subscribe. Look, after this wraps up here in a second, come back, leave a comment, let us know what you thought about it. And I will see you all next time on Security Happy Hour. on Cyber Warrior Studios. Have a good weekend.